Hello, hello.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, what we'll do is on the agenda is I need to say a few things at the beginning, and then I'll hand it over so you can go through the items.
Sounds good.
Okay. I'll wait just a tad longer for another minute or so. I guess more folks in here.
Yeah, the WebEx isn't, well, for me personally, it doesn't let me join until it's exactly 12 o'clock. So.
Okay. We'll wait. We got a little time. I think we'd like to 12:02 or 12:03 and something, and then we'll start. Mr. Rocha, I'm glad you're joining us. I'll give you a little formal welcome here in a minute, but I want to tell you that we usually spend a little bit of the time looking at who's grown a beard since the last meeting. And in this case, I think it's Mr. Dominguez has got the full-on goatee beard going, man.
Good afternoon, Tecno. I see a lot of new faces.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know how many members we have on yet. Arnold, can you give us a count, or Val?
I can give you a count, but just by show of faces, you do have a quorum. We can begin when you're ready.
You do? Well, let's give it another minute. We have Julian, Maida, Ray, Cesar, Mr. Dominguez.
It would be missing Mr. Algo.
Mr. Algo, yes, correct. And then the mayor has not made a, there's George. Okay. The mayor hasn't made an appointment not yet, to the committee, so we're going to be missing one person, for sure. Okay. All right, Mr. Chairman, I think we're ready to start. We've got Mr. Algelt and a couple other folks. You want to take attendance, Val?
Want me to call the meeting to order, Mr. Garcia?
Yes, let's go ahead and do that, and then we can go through attendance, and I got to. Go ahead, Val. Valerie, can you hear?
Okay. Yeah.
Go ahead and go through roll call.
Computer's night, so I don't know if it'll be.
Yeah, go ahead and just go ahead and hold for now. Val, let's do roll call.
I have disruptible.
Val, just hold on a sec, okay? Just put your mic on mute. Arnold, go ahead and call the roll.
Support. That's you. Maida Hernandez. I see you on, Maida. Cesar Garay. Cesar, we see you, man. Welcome. John Villarreal. Mr. Ray Rocha. Here. Welcome, Mr. Rocha. Mr. Chairman, Rafael Dueñas. Vice Chair Julian Radnowski.
Present.
Mr. George Altgeld. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, welcome. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Okay, great. Thank you, Arnold. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me just run through a few things. Let me welcome everybody back to our monthly meeting. Let me give a special warm welcome to Mr. Alko, who has given us his time and service as a city council person the last 4 years. Welcome, George. Good to see you here. Also like to welcome Mr. Ray Rocha for District 5. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate you being with us, and I look forward to working with you on the committee.
Thank you.
Can everyone mute their mics, please? Thank you. If someone still has their mic on. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I know you want us to move quickly and stay busy on this schedule. So the agenda is packed, and we can move right in.
3 is going to be the approval of minutes for January 2021. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve Arturo.
Second. Julian Ratnowski.
Julian Rodnowski. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Do we have any citizens' comments?
Yes, we do, Mr. Chairman, and I would say that the comment is related to the item. Let me see, item B. So if you'd like, I would suggest we wait to that item to bring up that comment because it's directly related to the TERS presentation.
That's fine with me. Is that fine with the committee? Okay, cool. Presentations. A is introduction and presentation by the TAMU Small Business Development Center, who serve as a major locals resource and one-stop for individuals and small businesses by providing counseling, training. Welcome for us.
Yes, absolutely. Norma and your team from TAMU, welcome from the SBDC. We really appreciate you here. It's good to be working with you the last couple of months. Members, we really thought it was important, even if it's going to be a short presentation. DC, which has a lot of resources and a lot of wise counsel there that they can help small businesses with, and all of it's for free. And people in your areas and your districts, you can definitely refer them to. Tell us what the SPD is all about.
Great, thank you. If I may, can I share some slides that we prepared for you today?
Sure.
All right. Let me go ahead and, I haven't done this in a while, so bear with me. Okay, let me know if I'm sharing my slides. I am? Yes? Okay, wonderful. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for the invitation today. My name is Norma Rodriguez, and I am the TAMU Small Business Development Center Director. I'm going to switch my slides over here so that I can look at the camera. Are we still on the, can you still see the slides?
No, Norma,
No? Okay.
No.
All right, let me go back then. Okay, here we go.
And if you want to put it in presentation mode, I'm sorry, that would be
ideal, right? There we go.
Oh, by the way,
How's that?
you've got about 10 minutes.
Okay, alrighty. Does that look better?
You might be able to switch over to your other desktop.
Okay.
Are you able to do that?
That's okay. I'll just keep it this way. Alrighty. Okay. Without further ado, allow me to introduce the SBDC team. On our video conference call today is Angelo Picarillo, Tina Rodriguez, Cynthia Gonzalez, and Virginia Lopez, which you'll be hearing from them shortly during this presentation. So here's a photo of our team. And really quickly, going back to this slide, we're located at the Texas A&M International University at 5201 University Boulevard. We are at the Killam Library, room 321. And here's our information in case you would like to get a hold of us. We are, our email is sbdc@tamu.edu, and our phone number is 956-326-2827. So again, here's our team of Angelo, Tina, Cynthia, and Virginia, who are on the call today with us. Alrighty, so a little bit about us. So the Small Business Development Center is the most extensive management and technical assistance for small businesses in the United States, with over 1,100 SBDCs throughout the country. The TAMU SBDC delivers high-quality business advising, training, and research to business people to start, manage, finance, and operate small business. Our approach is to guide and train rather than to do the work for our clients. SBDC engagement creates a positive impact on our clients' lives, their families, their business, and their communities, as well as a significant return on investment to our state and federal funding partners. Here on your screen, you'll see that we have, in addition to, of course, our office here at TAMIU, we are part of a very, very vast network. And we have what we call our specialty centers. And here are some of our specialty centers. We have a center that strictly deals with international trade. We have a center for government contracting. We have the SBDC National Information Clearinghouse, which is which they do research for our centers and for our clients. We have a specialty department for technology and commercialization, and we have, of course, our Business Recovery Accelerator. This is this is how we're structured. In addition to having an SBDC here in Laredo at the university, we have SBDCs throughout 79 counties across South Central, West, and the Gulf Coast of Texas. This vast and diverse territory encompasses 108 square miles, including our state's capital. Through the Institute of Economic Development, UTSA Southwest Texas Border SBDC Network operates 10 field centers, 4 specialty centers, which I just mentioned right now, and 1 research center to provide services and training to aspiring and experienced entrepreneurs. So as you can see, we have field centers in El Paso Community College, Sul Ross State University, Angelo State University, SRSU, Rio Grande College SBDC, Texas State University, University of Houston in Victoria, the University of Texas in San Antonio, Del Mar College, and Texas A&M International University, and the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley SBDC. So each center matches clients and expertise, ultimately helping to create jobs and grow the economy. The SBDC is funded in partnership with the U.S. Small Business Administration, the University of Texas at San Antonio, as well as colleges and universities throughout our territory. Our confidential business advising services are offered at no cost to SBDC clients. So here are a couple of areas that we cover. So we cover business plan, financial analysis and managing cash flow, budgeting and reporting, business registration and licensing, loan information, and government contracting certification assistance. And you'll hear from Tina in a little bit. In addition to, of course, the no-cost professional business advising, we do also offer that research assistance that we just mentioned through the SBDC Net, and we can get marketing and demographic information. In addition to our advising and research services, we offer training and education back in before COVID in person, but right now we're doing everything online and virtually. So what are some of our trainings? We cover accounting basics. We teach QuickBooks at our center, financing options, record keeping and payroll, franchising opportunities, social media, and our key program that we call our Small Business Management Program, which Cindy is going to speak to you in a few minutes about. We are now offering it virtually. As far as COVID recovery activities that our center has been working on since March of 2020, these are some of the results from the assistance that we have provided our local business community through capital funding, and I'm referring to PPP and the economic injury disaster loans. As of March 2021 through January 2021, we have assisted with over 928,500 of EIDL, Paycheck Protection Program, 4,946,598, and commercial bank loans from Farmers Federal Credit Union of $5,000. We also have impacted our community by hosting virtual no-cost COVID-related trainings, and I'll hand this over to Cindy now.
Thank you, Ms. Norma. Good morning or good afternoon, everybody. Just a quick overview. These are the COVID-related trainings that we've been able to offer virtually to our clients and to the community. You'll see some overlapping topics just because we've offered these more than once. We are in the process of putting together, obviously, more trainings to offer our clients. So I would suggest that, keep plugged into us by either following us on our social media handles, subscribing to our mailing list, or just visiting our website, sbdc.tamu.edu. If you have any kind of suggestions for things that you think we might be able to offer the community, I welcome any of your information or help so that we can go ahead and make sure that we're always plugged in with what our community is needing. Next slide, please, Norma. And just a quick overview, I know Norma had talked about it briefly before. Our big key thing that we are known for, we've been doing it for over 10 years, is our small business management program. We've, completely shifted over to virtual. And we are coming up on our next cohort, which will start March 23rd and run through May. It's 10 courses, it's intensive. I think of it as a small business boot camp for people that are wanting to open a business and are not quite sure and don't want to invest before getting a little bit more information, or for those that have just started and need additional assistance, or even those that have already have been established for a few years, but need refreshers on, the different topics. And I'd be more than happy to go ahead and share more information with you as soon as we're ready to launch, which will be coming up soon. So I had mentioned before to keep in touch with us. You can go ahead and see the information on your screen as to how you can do that. The easiest thing is by texting one word, TAMU SBDC, to the number 22828, and you can go ahead and join our mailing list. And thank you so much for your time.
Norma, we can get, sorry, this is Teklo. We can get this presentation to our EDAC members, no? Would that be okay?
Yes, we can. We can share this presentation. Absolutely. Okay, so I'd like to invite experiences. If we still have time, Teklo, how are we doing on time?
I would say you've got like 5 minutes to finish up.
Okay, great. Alrighty, so I've been very privileged to be working with your office and with, of course, with Arnoldo and with you and on new initiatives. And one of the initiatives that we've been working on is government contracting. So Tina, I'd like to ask you to say a couple of words about your experience with government contracting. I know that you've done a lot of state, but our initiative is to work with federal, and I know that Tina has put her hands on that as well. Tina, are you there? Tina? I don't see her. Okay. All right. We'll come back to Tina then. So I'll invite. Is she on mute?
I don't know. She can't hear. I don't think.
She can't hear.
Why don't you go through it really quick because we don't have much time. I know.
Okay, great. So we've been working with the Economic Development Department with Teklo and Arnold on 8A and Hub Zone certifications. It has come to our attention through Severino Sarabia, right, from Border Patrol, that he has had a very difficult time with finding local businesses that are certified in these areas to bid on contracts or to get jobs and projects. And so the initiative. Hello?
Marvin?
Oh, there you are. Yes.
Okay,
yes.
I'm here. I'm having problems with the audio. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I've had some experience with the 8A certification that is done through SBA. Thank you, Angela. That is done through the SBA. That's where you get certified, and also the Hub Zone, which is also certified through the SBA. I've been with the Small Business Development Center for over 16 years. I've only done one 8A. It is a lot of paperwork required. You do have to be a U.S. citizen. You do have to have your business in the U.S. A lot of documentation as far as your profit and loss statements, bank statements, tax returns, quarterly report. It's a lot of documentation that business owners need to supply. But the process has gotten a little bit easier. The application now is done online, so SBA has streamlined it. But this is something that we can help out with small business owners. Back in the day, we had to go through different websites to register through ORCA, through the SBA, SAMHSA, certified being an 8A. It is a 9-year program. Within the first 5 years, SBA is assisting you with government contracting. And the last 4 years of the program, they're basically weeding you out to go back into the public sector. But again, this is something that we can help out with, meeting with our clients on a one-to-one basis. They also have to do a mentor program with the SBA. And it is a lot of paperwork. It is a lot of training that they have to go through. Getting certified, to me, I think it's pretty easy, but maintaining that certification will be a lot of work on behalf of the business owner and SBA as well. Yes.
Can I interrupt you there a second, just for the interest of time, because our committee only has about an hour here. We can bring you up back, Norma. Mr. Chairman, you and I have talked about this contracting issue, and I think it's a big one for Laredo. Just to reiterate what Norma said, that there's a lot of small business contracts that are being issued by the federal government here in Laredo, anywhere from a couple of $10,000 to $100,000 to millions of dollars, that virtually every time go to a business not located in Laredo, because there are hardly any 8A minority, historically underutilized businesses certified in Laredo. So that money leaves town, and that's what we're trying to rectify. But Mr. Chairman, in the interest of time, I want to apologize to Ms. Norma, but maybe we can bring her back when we have a little bit more open schedule for her to brief us on some other things.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, Norma. I know that we have a lot of projects with you that are hopefully will come to fruition soon.
Yes.
I'm already sharing with a couple of people in regards to government contracting, and a ton of people are really excited. And I know that the economic development department seeks to, hopefully we can have at least 6 people certified by the end of the year. And I know with this partnership and friendship with your department and your office, we can definitely accomplish that. So thank you for being here with us.
You're welcome. Thank you for the opportunity.
Norma, I apologize for the rest of the information, but we would like to bring you back, and then we'd also like to make sure that our members can contact you, and also we give everyone this slideshow.
Yes. We'll go ahead and share that slideshow. I'll get with Arnoldo then to give me the folks that are on this call today. All right.
Yes,
thank you. All righty. I'll leave you. It's a 24-page report that the Southwest Texas Border Network prepares every year, and so I'm excited to share our 2020 annual report with the members as well.
Thank you, Norma, once again.
All righty.
We'll move on in our presentation B. And before we go into the presentation on the Laredo City Council approved public-private partnership and TERS agreement with Majestic Realty Company, we'll have the public comments, Mr. Garcia.
Yes, of course. With your permission, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to read out the comment. This B. Barcadero Business Park and have several hundred acres available for industrial development. We are submitting these comments and questions. We ask that EDAC request that the City Council fully disclose to the public the terms of the proposed TERS partnership, and that the Council provide sufficient time for public review and comment. We also request that the Council indicate which local public at a recent council meeting. This proposal has been in the works for nearly 2 years. Why is the public only learning of it now? With full discussion and participation of the public, Our interest is to better understand the proposal to assure that all industrial developers with stakes in the community and the public have the opportunity to consider what is being offered or proposed. We believe that creating a transparent, fair, and equitable industrial development tax increment financial policy is in the best interest of the city, and that it is the city should not be in the business of picking winners and losers in its industrial development and should not be providing some development proposal will simply move industrial tenants from one. This could be an opportunity to create a forward-looking model that benefits as many as possible, furthers industrial development and a tax base, and actually brings new jobs. Questions that we have are, number one, considered. Number two, has the private partner or this project Number three, since moving jobs from one council district to another council district is not economic development, what percentage of development and jobs committed will be new to Laredo, not currently in the Laredo area? Number four, is EDAC and City Council prepared to request that the same terms be made available to other developers and developers?
Thank you, Arnold. We'll continue with presentation B. Mr. Garcia, the floor is
Mr.
yours.
Chairman, may I be recognized?
Go ahead, Mr. Alcott.
Yeah, those interestingly are the same questions that I'm getting from folks in the trade community. Mr. Ceballos just happens to have very task at hand is for us to do. We've of course have been studying TERS for at least the last we had to adopt a TERS policy even just to consider, for example, the Coves project, which it never came to us because of the fact that the city it was brand. But one of the takeaway lessons from that project was that the developer went way out of with the council, but moreover with the county, with the college, and with the public in general. And if you look at other successful TERSs, and so I guess in stark contrast, what we don't want to be, and we weren't, but I'll give you the stark contrast was, Eduardo Garza's no bid. And how that was just rushed through council, and it didn't have any EDAC, arc of night, that was pushed upon us. And I watched the council meeting in preparation for this meeting on the agenda item regarding but in the end, like when we were students in math, right, you have to show your work. If you just write the answer down, somebody's going to think, well, maybe you were cheating, right? City Council, some cover. They went out of their way to appoint us to be their eyes and ears. We're going out of our way. We're giving of our time, for free to do this technical analysis. And so Joseph's question. And on behalf of the Farias group, these are lifetime partners of the city that have really brought good development projects to head. And, they want to make sure there's a level playing field. And I think everybody here wants to make sure that there's a level playing field. So I would hope that when it as well, but us as EDAC, that should mean something like, hey, well, this went through EDAC and EDAC said, this is a good project, versus what was kind of looked like it was going to be slated for just to get approved and pushed. And so I think it's important that we do our work and take a deep dive into this and set a TERS policy for this type of development, and just a quick footnote, and I'll pass the mic here, but there's only owners in competition. And if we were to dial this in such a way that these 2,000 acres with our public participation, we could bake into the cake a scenario where that growing business or that startup out there could have access because the current economics really frankly pushes the would-be investor to the valley or to other parts of the border. And so if we create a level playing field and create it such that the cost per acre is cheaper there, the other landowners are going to have to adjust their economics to become competitive as well. And so I think there's a real opportunity here to dial this in so that it is not just the stuff of government platitudes like, oh, it's going to be great, it's going to be wonderful, it's going to be huge. Government bureaucrats from time to time. And so here, if we show our work, I think it'll be much more meaningful when we do say, yeah, we've done our homework and it is going to be a big deal and this is why, as opposed to let's just shove it through council and get a seal of approval on it without that public insight. So those are my comments.
May I be heard real
We're
quickly?
excited to have you here with your input. Mr. Garcia, would you, I know a few of our committee to be presented so they're aware of what's going on. If that's fine with you, Julian, if you can wait after the presentation. Go ahead.
Yeah, so do I. So I got some comments myself.
Go ahead, Mr. Garcia.
I'm trying to share. Can y'all see this now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you're good. Okay. All right. So this is a presentation that was before the council, and I want to go through this, and I'll go through it as just like I did with the council, and there'll be questions I'm sure that y'all want to ask, but let me go through it, and if you'll allow me, I won't take much of your time, that we can get to some of the questions. Again, this, as most of you know, this is the purpose of this TERS was a petition-driven TERSs, and if you know about TERSs, there's some that are city-driven, or the entity, let's say a county, or they can be driven by the developer. And this one was driven by was a petition that was brought to the city by the developer, Majestic Realty. Their development is called the Port Grande, which is in the Mile 13 Unitech area. As you know, this is going to be a TERS, and we'll go through some of this. Here's a little background on on Majestic, and in the interest of time, I can send every one of you this thing. I won't read the whole thing, but they're from LA, and they have developments all across the country, mainly in the West, but all across the country.
Mr. Chairman, if we could, let's take our time. I'd hate for you to feel like you're rushed, Mr. Garcia. It's millions of dollars of tax base at stake. I mean, let's take a deep dive if that's okay with everybody.
Well, Mr. Altgeld, this meeting lasts for 1 hour. And that's what has been posted. So that's why I keep talking about in the interest of time. And so,
Mr. Garcia, could the meeting be extended for about 15 minutes?
well,
I'm okay with that.
over a little bit anyway, every meeting, but that's the posted time. I mean, I'm sure we'll go over today as well, but that if we want to make meetings longer in the future, all we'd have to do is post them. And I don't think anyone unless a member has a problem with that, but that's up to the committee. If you want to meet for an hour and a half, I mean, or 2 hours, that's up to y'all. But that's what was posted this time.
We'll just go with the meeting. If we need to extend the time, we can extend it and see how the committee votes in regards to that.
Yeah, and I think you're correct, Mr. Chairman. I mean, there's nothing legally that limits the time of the meeting. I know we're all subscribed to the Texas Open Meetings Act. We do have to absolutely notice the start time, but the fact that we're advisory and we're not actually making a decision per se, we do have that flexibility to continue on as necessary.
And Mr. Altgeld, I'm not trying to pass over the details of the agreement. I was trying to pass over some of these sentences here. I wasn't going to read word for word, all these bullet points on the background of the developer. So that's what I was just trying to go through quickly. And also, FYI, Mr. Altgeld, I have personally been working on this for about 7 months, doing the homework that you're talking about. So this didn't come up at the last minute just because a developer brought it to me. You can rest assured that I take my job very seriously, and anything that goes before the council, I look at as it going before the taxpayers. And that's the way I look at it. So anything that's in interest of the taxpayers, that's the way I look at these deals. And I wouldn't do anything otherwise. So there's a developer, again, Majestic Realty. Their interest in Texas or in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, especially right now, they've been contracted to redo the famous Fort Worth stockyards, right? So that's a big project for them. They're also in Kyle, Texas, and of course they're in Laredo. The opportunity, this is what we were talking about here. This is phase 1 of their development, which is up right now. If you go drive out there and see it, this is something that they didn't receive any economic incentives for. This is something they did on their own over time. And this particular, if I can point you to this particular warehouse, is 423,000 square feet. It was leased to one business, so they needed 420,000 square feet. And this is something that the size of these buildings is that they're building, no one else is building in Laredo, and they see their niche in that particular area. On the opportunity, again, this is what here's phase 1. This is what they built right here. Phase 3. How they would build it. This area here in the middle is floodplain or creeks, right? But they would go from phase 2 to phase 3, and then phase 4, 5, 6, and 7 later. Again, the proposal summary is this, and I'll read this. Majestic Realty, the nation's largest privately owned industrial developer of business parks, is developing a private-public partnership with the city of Laredo to develop a 2,000 acre tract of land in North Laredo with the creation of a tax increment reinvestment zone. Tax increment financing is a method local governments can use to pay for improvements that will draw private investment to the area and expedite a project development with tourist funding. Pardon me, sorry. Majestic Port Grande is a $1 billion, 2,000 acre project that will span 30 years. Under the proposed TERS, the project will be built in 6 phases, adding 14 million square feet of warehouse and industrial space and create an estimated 9,500 jobs. The upcoming phase alone, which is phase 2, it will be the first phase under the TERS, is worth nearly $200 million and will add about 2 million square feet across 11 buildings and is expected to be completed by 2025. And that's just phase 2 alone, not the whole project.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Go ahead.
So is there a clawback provision built into this current proposed TERS agreement?
Is that for me or for the chairman?
For you, sir.
Okay. The clawback is inside the TERS agreements. There's into the final agreement, there's actually several separate agreements that you'll see when it goes before city council, and then also in a public hearing that's required by state statute on all TERSs, right? That if we get to say, for example, if we get to phase 2 or maybe even, phase 3, if the developer isn't living up to what the agreement says that the developer is going to do, then we can exit the agreement and, part ways with that developer.
Okay. So, and I guess maybe we're speaking past each other a little bit, but as many of you all know, a clawback provision in the context of a TERS is the method in which the city is able to recover its out-of-pocket expenses. For instance, street maintenance, but most often it's fire and police. There's a certain, based on the type of development, based on the size of the development, you can estimate, okay, to service this area for fire, police, sewer, water, etc., it's going to be X amount of $1 million per year. And like in the Coves project, which made that project so enticing for the city, was that there was going to be no out-of-pocket expense to the city because we were able to claw back all of the out-of-pocket expenses to the city. And so very directly, I guess then that's my question.
Okay, no, I understand what you're saying now. And yes, inside the revenue sharing agreement, our city costs for services for cities must be covered, right, by the agreement. I mean, if we're upside down the agreement, right, we can't do the agreement. The cost of services must be paid for by the revenue that's being generated for the city. You're correct, George. Okay. The next, pardon me, did I skip a slide? Yes. So the tax, pardon me, the tax increment financing is a tool that incentivizes economic development within a tax increment reinvestment zone, the TERS. It's governed by the tax code, chapter 311, state statutes. Hundreds of TERS have been created around the state. And San Antonio, just for example, has about 24, 25. I think Houston, like up to 18%, I think is the last time I saw. 18% of Houston's, within Houston city limits are in TERSs. And then there are some cities that don't have very many at all. I think McAllen might have one. And so it just depends on how they've been used or whether the leadership in those cities would want to use them. Fort Worth uses them, Dallas, Austin, etc. Cities alone or in partnership with other taxing units can use this tool to pay for improvements in the zone, so it will attract new development.
And so what kind of outreach have we had, or I guess what kind of information are we getting back from the Laredo College District and the county?
They have their own elected political leaders there, and it's up to the developer to approach them if they want to participate in it. The developer has to take that to those entities.
Okay, and I realize this is probably a little before your time, but what was very effective with the last time we entertained a TERS was that the city, along with the developer, coordinated with the county and the college district, because those respective tax bases could also help chip in for the infrastructure and public improvements, so that the city wasn't having to carry that burden alone. And from what I saw from the presentation at council, it looks like pretty much the city is carrying 100% of.
That would be incorrect, George, because at the presentation I said that and showed in the presentation that this agreement and the numbers here are contingent if the county it participates, and the developer is responsible for, again, I wouldn't want to at least on my level, certainly not ask elected leaders at the county level that they're going to participate in this particular TERS. I mean, that would be up to them, but it's also them to work with the developers to do that.
Okay, I'm sorry. I must have skipped that. So then the developer then the numbers that you provided, and we'll get to those. But the numbers that you provided are contingent upon those taxing entities participating as well.
Well, yes and no. If you'll allow me to go down a couple of slides here, I'll be able to explain that to you.
Okay.
You'll see what I'm talking about. So the TERS can pay for infrastructure, public improvements, and economic development grants. And let me go to the next slide just to show you. I really like this graphic too much, but I want to show you that basically the TERS works based on new development that is created in that TERS. So here's your base for the TERS. In this case, with Majestic, that scrubland that they own is paying this much into property taxes to our general fund. Once the improvement begins, the increased incremental tax revenue and other revenues, say like sales tax or something else, from the TERS area, that gets put in a TERS account, and then the developer and the city and or other entities, they share that money, right? But that's all contingent only on the new development. The base ad valorem continues to go to the general fund the way it always has been. In this case, it's not very much at all. And then after the TERS is over, the entities get the entire increased ad valorem from the development, which is, after the TERS is over. In this case, it's a 30-year development. The creation process for a TERS is.
Mr. Garcia, I'd like to recognize Julian Ranowski.
Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry. My bad.
Mr. Duenas. Declo, I have a general question. A lot of the time with these TERS is what you'll actually see is essentially almost a statement by the developer or group of developers that go in with cities, and what that question typically is and how it's answered is no. And the question is would you be doing this development without, this incentive that is being given? Has that been a topic of discussion with Majestic, and what was the feedback you got from that?
Yes. Well, we posed that question amongst ourselves, and we've asked them. And it looks like this development would likely happen, but in a very slow, incremental manner, right? So what we're doing here is we're partnering with this developer in this TERS process to expedite the development and make it happen on a much faster scale. And from a competitive reason, one that Mr. Alkil just mentioned, with other areas having the opportunity to compete for these kind of projects, maybe on a lower, cheaper rate. Be honest with you, that was motivating for us to get involved and try to see how we could make this project happen. If not, maybe it wouldn't happen at all. Maybe it would happen in a very slow way, piecemeal. Now we know we can get involved and make this project happen and happen quickly.
But if I may follow up with that, so I'm a commercial broker by business. I also get CCIM updates regarding industrial. I know for a fact that if there's any industry that's going to do extremely well out of this pandemic, is going to be industrial. It is very much in high demand. So my curiosity is so I understand we're measuring this when it comes to jobs, but so why is it going to why would this TERS project make this more competitive? Is there anything that I guess here's my more direct question. Are they guaranteeing lower sales prices per acre? Are they? No,
they're not guaranteeing that. What we're doing is we're moving with them to create capacity, which, as you know, there isn't much of in Laredo, and developers, local or otherwise, are not building buildings normally over 100,000 square feet. In fact, most of them are smaller, 50,000 or less. This is a unique opportunity into getting into competition with the ports of Los Angeles and Houston and New York and places like that, DFW on the land side, to build these buildings of 300 else is doing it, and those buildings would not be built but for something of an agreement like this, pardon me, that would allow us to get into that and put those buildings out there, as you saw in that phase one, where Source Logistics leased the whole 400,000 square feet all at one time. We've had to turn down international clients because we don't have 300,000 and 400,000 square feet that they've asked for. Because it's just first of all, it's a tight market. Number two, we don't have that size of building. One of them was Cambridge University Press from the UK. So yeah, this is key for us, and it was very important to try to make this available, and it probably wouldn't happen but for the agreement, and then just to be more competitive. And you're right. There will be jobs, and the other thing is that there's investment in the community. So, those are the other factors.
So the TERS is assisting them to build. The reason I'm a little lost is they have thousands upon thousands of acres. They have the land for the capacity. What I'm trying to understand is so the TERS is allowing them to build more massive warehouses. I do know for a fact the bigger the warehouse you build, typically per square foot, that is less of a cost to the developer versus building a bunch of smaller ones. So I'm trying to understand the incentive leading to a more competitive landscape.
Well, it's not just building. You can build a giant warehouse and split it up and charge for higher rates. Or you can build one and it will be a lower rate. No, you don't. You're not understanding the competitive part. Is that the part that you're not getting?
Yes, at least from what I hear from my own clients, a lot of the time is Laredo's biggest problem is that because of the very few amount of landowners, the cost to either buying land, buying a warehouse, or leasing a warehouse is extremely high. So when they go out for contracts, let's say they're doing transloading, their biggest issue is the cost to basically own or lease a warehouse of that nature, and then having low cost goods that don't typically get the fees that they need, which is why not by design, but by nature, Laredo's mainly, car parts, more expensive, just-in-time manufacturing type of goods. So the issue that we have is we don't have enough competition, at least from a land side. So Majestic already has these thousands of acres. I'm trying to understand why the TERS suddenly equates to there being more competition on that front to attract those type of businesses. What is Majestic going to do that is different because they're getting this incentive?
The TERS doesn't get into how they're running their business, and right. What we're looking at is looking at what development they're going to have on their property. If we had a much less demanding rate on acreage and so forth, we would probably still do this TERS. And so, I can't get into the TERS doesn't get into what the land prices are what the competition is on the rates per acre across the spectrum, and how many landowners there might be. The TERS doesn't speak to that. The TERS is looking at creating, and this was a petition again by the developer asking for a TERS for this area, and we agreed with that based on what we saw could be the benefit from this TERS. We realize there's a tight market on land and buildings, and we think that this would benefit the city by having these warehouses built there, creating jobs, creating more opportunities for firms to come to Laredo and create either distribution centers or maybe even a manufacturing facility. We'll see, right? But that's the best way I can answer it, Julian.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a
Go ahead,
question?
Mr. Algal.
Yeah, Mr. Rotnovsky's question is right on point, and perhaps if I add some context, maybe that'll help you answer the question a little bit, Mr. Garcia. So when I was a council member, very frequently, different people in the warehousing community would come to us and say, hey, can you help us with a Chapter 380 agreement or some other type of incentive? And the answer, after having studied the issue time and time again, was generally no, unless it was going to be a cold storage facility or there was something particular about the development. Because the reality is that trade is our bread and butter, and you could set up a warehouse today or tomorrow, and it would be an overnight success. And so why are we having to incentivize something that is already in full swing, versus, hey, let's incentivize a downtown health clinic, or let's incentivize something other than this economic cluster that is explosive, right? And so to Julian's point, which I understand what you're saying, like, hey, look, we don't have the square footage space to attract those really big players. Julian's point is, you can, it's cheaper to build those really big projects, because there's the economies of scale, the parking, the clientele, etc. And so what is it that, this TERS, and your point is very well taken. We're incentivizing the development sooner rather than later. And that's a very valid point. And that's, the thrust of why TERS are so widely used in other communities. But as it relates to this very big player, this very liquid player like Majestic, if they've already done their market analysis, which I'm sure they have, they know what they're getting into. They know the challenges of the infrastructure, of traffic, etc. But the question is, why this TERS the way it's being proposed now? And I understand, originally they wanted, their ask was, 70% or something ridiculous.
Correct.
Scaled it down. But why this level of participation? In other words, how do we show our work to be able to show that the tax base should be retained at 55% there?
Well, I mean, I can go through that with you on a on a one-on-one basis, because it's a pretty lengthy explanation, we're also using a tourist consultant to crunch a lot of these numbers. They're using their own tourist consultants to crunch these numbers, and we've been meeting since July, maybe June, to figure this out.
Mr. Garcia, who are we using as a tourist consultant? I don't think that was presented.
We were using Thad Wilson from Unicap. Unicap is a financial firm that specializes in all sorts of public-private partnership and agreements.
For context, we used him in the Coves analysis as well, and he's sharp guy. The one thing about Thad, though, like a lot of consultants, right? He'll read the room and he'll be like, "Okay, I think they want to hear us say this." And so there's where you kind of gotta, hold it. He has to show his work too, right, for us to, get behind it.
No, I have voluminous amounts of pages of work for anyone to see. Obviously, there'll be public record. There, and if you like spreadsheets, then you'll like looking at those.
I was going to say, Mr. Alga, if this is an idea that you'd like to entertain, we could call a special meeting and have Mr. Garcia present in a detailed manner.
That's a great idea. That would be helpful. And
I think that's a great idea too.
And Thad could join us as well. I know he was very hands-on throughout the whole Coves project, and he's got that gift of being able to explain really technical stuff in really simple terms. So I'll put that in a motion that we have a special meeting and that we invite Thad so that we can better understand and then give our feedback to council, like the motion and the amendment to the motion that council made. So we're making sure we're doing our job.
I would like to say something. This is John Villarreal. I commend you, George. I think you're bringing some great points, Julian. My concern, and I know it was mentioned before, is how many new jobs are we going to create? Are we going to be taking away from some of the existing jobs that are in some of the existing warehouses? How many new jobs are we going to create? Now, the other thing is that this thing needs to be equitable. Majestic, good. They're coming in. They want to do something good. But we also have players that have been here for generations. I mean, I can just off the top, Killam, the Faskins, that have not only can do these projects, but they've also contributed, like, for example, for the La Posada. Probably La Posada wouldn't be there if the Faskins wouldn't be there. We look at the Killams, we look at Tammy U with the library and stuff like that, with the actual land. I mean, maybe that wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for the Killams. So I just want this to be equitable for all parties. And there's Pinnacle, there's other parks that could also benefit from this. By the same token, we got to ensure that it's also beneficial for the city. I know y'all were talking about Houston. I mean, there's a lot of cities that have gone into these terses that now they regret because, and George, you mentioned it, at the end of the day, you still have M&O, right? You have maintenance and operations, you got fire, you got police. So those are some of the things that I'm glad that we're going to do this. Maybe crunch the numbers, look at the numbers very carefully.
Well, we have looked at the numbers. I mean, let me make something clear to everyone here, and I hate that I'm sounding defensive. I apologize if I am. This has been like I mentioned, 6-8 month process where the numbers have been crunched, and there has been numbers for police and numbers for fire and numbers for street maintenance, right? We have gone through that. We've gone through the square footage of a warehouse for warehouse and what they're going to turn over, jobs they might create, building by building. We've looked at street costs per linear foot, right? Compared to what they say, given to what we think it should be. What they say their valuation is on buildings compared to what the market and what we say. And so there's numbers being crunched on both sides by consultants and us, and then we try to negotiate that out. So that has been a long process. Mr. John, will you bring up some good concerns regarding the local businesses? Any local entity that would want to for the city of Laredo to consider a TERS, a 380, a 312. I mean, I have an open door, and everyone knows that. Everybody in the community that can come up, they can certainly ask for one. There's rules to play by as well, and we'll consider any project like that.
Mr. Hester, if I can just chime in.
You guys first, Julian. And
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yourself.
I appreciate it.
I didn't hear you, Rafael.
I saw you raise up your hand. I thought you had a question.
Yes, for example, Source Logistics, they're in the distribution of food. They have a warehouse exclusively for Coca-Cola. So I think what they're trying to do is crunch all the warehousing that they have, because they have more than, I feel like 4 warehouses at 200,000 square feet. They have another one at 100 and something. So they're trying, I mean, the jobs are there already. In the one they have here next to the World Trade Bridge, that one was probably the second forklift that was automated. It'll go pick up whatever you need. It doesn't need much manpower. So that's just an Source Logistics part that I am aware of. But I would like to add in the motion that Georgia wanted to do is a creative work group so that we can see all the documentation. I mean, what we're seeing here is just a little presentation. We would like to see what was negotiated with. I mean, I'm curious to ask George why the Killam TERS didn't go through, which that would have created much more taxes than a warehouse, which is, I think, has more property tax and why that one didn't pass, because that's more of a housing thing. And that's my 2 cents.
Yes, Mr. Dominguez.
Your amendment.
Hold on a second. If I can answer Mr. Dominguez, George, if you allow me real quick.
Sure.
Mr. Dominguez, you're right. There are companies that could move into warehousing that gets built as a result of this TERS from other parts of the city. It would certainly be their choice to do that, whether it's a consolidation or maybe they see a better opportunity. That's not to say that with our 1% vacancy rate, that those warehouses that get emptied wouldn't be filled by somebody else. And it's creating more space, right? So, I mean, you bring up a good point. There will be some jobs that aren't completely new. And then there will be some jobs that will be new. And I've said that from the start.
So
Go ahead, Julian.
I appreciate it, Rafa. So just to piggyback off everything, I'm not sure if we can even do this, which is the concern I wanted to bring up initially, which is at least from the directive I saw from council, and specifically the councilwoman that I represent, is that they wanted EDACs to be given the presentation and to give feedback. And I'm noticing that this is strictly a presentation without possible action. So I think a lot of these questions are coming from the fact that we're not really being engaged, and a lot of these council members appointed us because they viewed us as representation, not only for them and their constituents, but also as professionals in the industry. And I think a lot can come out of EDAC if we are allowed to work together and come up with a solution. I don't think there's one member in here that doesn't believe in the idea of using a TERS in order to bring more competition when it comes to industrial space and jobs, because I will scream this from the mountaintop. We have a major issue, and the reason why all these other cities are, taking our cake right now is because we actually have a problem with competing on the prices. I have a client right now that needs a 30,000 square foot warehouse, and I'm having to drive to Eagle Pass because it's cheaper, So I think what we need to do in order to move forward.
Are you asking them to drop their prices, or I mean?
I'm a believer in capitalism. I don't think anyone drops their prices. I think, but what we can do as a city and specifically as a committee is come up with a plan in order to make sure that all TERSs that target this industry. We need more competition in the creation of warehouse and leasing or sales of land, making more land available. We need to bring some more supply.
How do we make more land available if only a few folks own it?
How do we make more land available if only few? Well, so you can work with the TERS in order to. A lot of the land is just not accessible. For example, Majestic, currently right now, I have a client that's willing to pay nearly twice as much and is paying twice as much on land versus going over there and buying land, because of the traffic flow. So right now we're incentivizing a project that, at least right now, I hear time and time again, and I know Arturo sits on the regional mobility, they're trying to get an overpass there. We've been trying to get overpass there for years, and it still hasn't come to fruition. And eventually that overpass is going to get bottlenecked too. So I think what we need to do is develop a comprehensive plan of not only how, like I said, I don't think anyone here is strictly against incentivizing Majestic.
No, I don't take it that way.
But how do we widen the gate?
It's fine.
And so I'd like to second George, if I'm even allowed to second George's motion, and I will accept Arturo's amendment to it all. But I think what we really need to do in order to even meet what our city council asked of us, which is to give feedback, is basically create possibly a special call meeting just focusing on this.
Points very well taken, Julian. Councilmember Cigarroa did mention that. It is 1:15 and our meetings usually go for about an hour. We still have two more action items on the remaining agenda. And Councilman, committee member now, Algel, your point is very well taken. We don't not have to make a motion to have a special meeting. I believe that it's just scheduling with me and in terms of
Mr. Chairman, just one thing I want to mention, and I checked with the city secretary's office this morning, is that we can, if the EDAC committee wants to have additional meetings regarding this particular TERS, like Mr. Dominguez and Mr. Radnowski have suggested, you're certainly welcome to call those, and I'll be happy to participate in them and share whatever documents I have. And that's certainly up to the committee, right, to do. However, the city council did act on this particular TERS and set forth a timeline that's already been enacted. And we go before the council again with the final agreements on February 16th. And then a public hearing will be held after that, right? I think, public hearings, George, correct me if I'm wrong. There's like 3 different stages that you go through before it's all finalized.
Right, but I replayed rewatched that council item, and the amendment was to send it to the EDAC for feedback, and of course we can't give meaningful feedback on anything that we haven't been fully brought up to speed on. And so we've given you a little bit of our feedback, which is, hey, we really want to know more about this. And so we can, it's absolutely within our purview as a subcommittee, or rather as a committee, to council to make motions, amendments, and follow the collective will of this committee, as well as our as well as the council that we represent and reflect. So there is a motion on the table, and there is a second. There's an amendment. Mr. Chairman, I would respectfully request that we call for the question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Algilt, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Algilt, I'll repeat what I just said a few minutes ago. You're perfectly in the right to do that, and I'm happy to participate in those kind of meetings with y'all and show you what we built on, over the last several months of homework. Maybe you're seeing it for the first time, but I'm not seeing it for the first time, and I'm glad to show you the work that we've done over time, right? Be happy to do that. I'm just saying that
we look forward to seeing it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, unfortunately, we're also seeing it for the first time. Maybe we should have been brought up a lot earlier.
Well, John, that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up, because when we're negotiating business terms, those aren't, for the public, and we're protected by state law on economic development issues to not discuss those in public if we choose not to. And these are public meetings, and I wouldn't bring a client's business out into the public until it's time. And I would do that with anybody, whether it's IBC or a small business, whatever the case is. When you're negotiating and doing drafts and so forth, that would not be good practice to do that, in my opinion. And I haven't done it anywhere else.
I understand that, but you got to weigh that against having public input into these situations.
For sure.
You maybe have to make a decision by this council meeting.
Yeah,
we are a municipality that's bound by the Public Information Act, and we're also as a committee of the city council, we're bound by the ethics ordinance, which requires us to keep confidential information that is in fact confidential. I mean,
but these meetings are public. We can't discuss that in private.
I understand. It's a public meeting, and as it should be, because these are taxpayers' dollars, and that's why there's so much of public hearings in order to bring a TERS forward, and so it's gonna get out anyway.
Yeah.
So if the more transparent we are, the less questions are asked by the public, and frankly, I mean, the city historically has a bad image of doing things behind closed doors. Not that you were. I'm not suggesting that you were. But even just recently, that no bid contract to Eduardo Garza, I mean, that stinks. And so we're having to rebuild from that reputation. And if you look at the Coves project, I mean, they went to great pains to do that in the light of day, so that there wouldn't be any questions.
I can't really.
Then there were questions.
I wasn't here during the Coves process. That's not relatable to me right now.
It's relatable to everybody else in the room.
I want to work with you and the committee and get everything done transparently. I want to be able to also to answer Mr. Villarreal's concern about sharing information, and absolutely, John, we want to share whatever we can with you and the entire committee, for that matter, in a public forum, where everyone can see it. That is for sure. I'm just saying that early on in the process, when we're looking at properties and square footage and plans before anything is settled, that's not the time to bring it forth to a public meeting as of yet. Then we can go from there. I'll be happy to do that.
I think Mr. Garcia's points are well taken, and the committee has already decided on bringing it back up. We'll set up the special meeting to have Mr. Garcia present a more detailed presentation. And if it's fine with the committee, we'll continue to our next agenda item.
One little request, nomás,
Go ahead.
for Mr. Garcia. Before you share something
Yes,
in
sir.
public regarding the EDAC or economic development, can you send it to the committee first? Just so that we're the first ones to get that information, and then you can send it to the public, please? Because we get it from the public, not even from you. Thank you.
Oh man, you're asking for special treatment now.
So moved. So moved. It's a motion. I second it.
You're asking for special treatment.
God forbid we do the job we've been tasked to do.
Hey, you're a first timer, man. This is your first meeting. Why are you talking so much on our EDAC committee meeting?
Because he hasn't
Mr.
heard
Garcia,
us
these
talk
are
before.
presentation items. Are we allowed to make motions on them?
I don't think so, but if you want to set up
Points are well taken, Mr. Algel, and we'll definitely work on them, and we'll set that up.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Perfect. Moving on to our next agenda item, which is 5C, discussion and possible action regarding progress made by the city and LIFT Fund for a potential interest buy-down program for loans to local small businesses. And I would definitely, I know it's already 1:20, but this is a huge priority for our small businesses and for our city. So if you guys could just hang on a little bit longer, I'd definitely appreciate it. And so would our whole community.
Arnold's going to do this, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, no problem. I'd be happy to. Teklo, if you could just stop sharing so I can begin mine.
Oh yeah, my bad.
And I don't know how I can follow that act, but I'll try my best, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh no.
One second here. Okay, it's coming up.
Can everyone kill their mics, please? There's a lot of background noise.
Just real quickly, Rafa stepped away, so I'll be the chair until he gets back.
Sir.
Okay, everybody see my screen? We're ready to go? Okay. Well, thank you for this opportunity to present this program to the EDAC Committee on behalf of the Economic Development Department. The City of Laredo Interest Buy-Down Program. I'm going to go through a little bit of what it looks like, the work that's gone into it, the work we've done on it, and what the possible potential could be to support our local small businesses. What is an interest buy-down program? This interest buy-down program provides small business owners a reduced interest rate loan to solve two of the biggest challenges facing our small businesses, which is capital and cash flow. Reduced interest loans significantly lower a borrower's credit costs over the life of the loan and allows for increased savings to the borrower. The infusion of capital to these businesses increases their total economic activity and facilitates the creation of new jobs. What is the city's partnership with LIFT Fund? LIFT Fund received capital from the Dell Foundation to lend out to local communities serviced by LIFT Fund. LIFT Fund did accept the funds that were being offered by the Dell Foundation with the condition that a certain amount be allocated and reserved just for Laredo. The Dell Foundation did agree to that, and they were able to reserve and allocate up to $750,000 in loan capital to support local small businesses here locally in Laredo. Why LIFT Fund? The program allows the city to support small businesses in tandem with LIFT Fund small business lending without the liability associated with the loan. LIFT Fund provides affordable capital as well as technical assistance from expert business advisors and business development officers in order to quickly deploy the City of Laredo small business community the resources that they need to recover. The last program that LIFT Fund did, they were able to roll it out really quick within a couple of weeks. So they do have the resources available to get this program rolling out quick and fast the way that the local business community needs it. And again, they're local. Lift Fund is a nonprofit with a local office located right here in Laredo, and they're located at 902 East Carlton Road. How the program works through the partnership. A small business loan is approved based on Lift Fund's credit criteria. Lift Fund will reduce the rate it would qualify for based on agreed upon interest rate reduction from an approved loan. With the buy down program option, and this is the city's skin in the game here, the city may reduce the rate by a designated amount for each business loan down to either 5%, or the city can choose to do it down to the full 0%. Under the terms of the program that's being presented by Lift Fund, the city would need to choose whether they're going to buy down all their loans at 5% or choose the 0% category to buy those loans down. What does the program look like? Initially, when Lift Fund approached us with this program, they were setting the interest rate at 13%. Okay, so the city's share of buying down that interest would be based on that 13% amount that was given to us. So right here, they're basing the loan off of $25,000 to do an equal share of 30 loans that would give you the total $750,000. The loan terms were set at 36 months. So at a $25,000 loan over 36 months at the interest rate of 13%, this is what the business would be having to pay on a monthly basis in order to pay that loan back. If the city were to choose to buy that down to 5%, that payment amount would go down to $749. So the difference between here would be $93 that the buy down would be for that month. Okay, so for that loan, the $93 over the 36 months, you'll come out with $33.50 that the city would put up to cover this one loan for $25,000. So the city chose to buy down this amount at $25,000 over 30 loans. The city would be paying a total of $100,000, give or take, to cover 30 loans down to 5% if each loan was at $25,000. If the city chose to do the 0% buy down option at that same formula, the city would be paying a monthly payment of $53.24 to cover 30 loans would be about $160,000. So this was the initial plan given to us by Lift Fund for consideration, and it's just for demonstration purposes only. This is nothing in concrete. The Economic Development Department has had subsequent conversations with Lift Fund to negotiate with them to kind of talk further into this. We've expressed our interest, and we were able to bring the interest rate down from 13 to 10%. Bringing that down to 10%, they sent us a revised table that shows now, based off of the same $25,000 for the loan to cover 30 loans, the city would be buying down now at 5%, $83,000. So you're going from $100,000 at the 13% rate down to $83,000 to cover those 30 loans. The difference now in the 0%, because the term extended to 48 months, the city would be paying just a little bit more to cover the entire 30 loans at the 0%. So that term amount is still being discussed and negotiated with Lift Fund to kind of find out what we can do. So we're hoping to hear back from committee members, Mr. Villarreal in particular, to find out, what this looks like in terms of the banking perspective, to see how best to go about this and moving forward. Any questions?
Let me just add that this is we've talked about this before, and we brought you some even more information last month, and this will be the third time that we bring this to the committee. Before, you didn't have the complete picture. Hopefully you can, either take it into consideration this time, and if not, if you table it, we can wait another month. It's up to y'all. As a
Mr.
committee.
Lozano, have we established requirements for who is applicable?
Not yet. We just wanted to know what this was going to cost the city, because going in, once this is before city manager, before city council, we need to find out, do we even have that money somewhere to cover those? City council may say, hey, or city management may say, hey, we only have a certain amount of money to cover. This is as much as we can do. So based on that, we would have to renegotiate and find out how far we can get, how far our reach goes, and how many businesses we could actually service. But no terms have been agreed on yet. This is just numbers.
And
Arnold,
Mr. Chairman,
question real quick. So on this scenario at the 10%, the amount that the city would be at would be the 83,995.
Yes, if the city, and remember, this is on a yearly basis. The city would only be responsible for paying down interest on loans that were given out within a certain year. So if the city only received 10 businesses and gave out 10 loans within the year, based on those numbers, the city would only be responsible for buying down on those 10 loans only. So that amount is just to cover the entire 30.
So if I can just ask real quick, so to break this down very simply, $83,000 committed by the city can cover up to $750,000 in loans.
Correct. Yes,
Every year.
At the 5%, not the 0%.
Yes, no, and not every year. That's it. You know, in a year, if we go through $750,000 in loans, then yes, it would be 83,000 for the entire year.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand the impact.
Yes, Julian, let me add one other thing to that, just to get you a picture. We don't think that, at least now, our estimates would be that this program would not max out in 1 year, because we really had to work hard to get 104 applicants for the grant money that does not have to get repaid. So in this case, you know, in that case, that was free money. In this case, they have to pay it back. So there might be even less enthusiasm for this one, but it does provide some options for local businesses.
My only feedback to this is there's a lot of businesses out there that were able to either get PPP or get all these other federally backed assistance. We have a lot of small businesses that can't even get small loans. So my only concern, or I guess my only suggestion, is we make sure that this is, I don't know what the number is, but I know the federal government calls small business anyone under 300 jobs.
Under
150,000 a year.
Yeah, we need to get a definition for Laredo. You know, is it 30 people?
This is a good point, Julian, and just like the grant funding, I mean, Lift Fund works with micro businesses, you know, probably like 25 employees or less, and Mr. Villarreal knows that these folks that are going to get these loans are because they can't get them anywhere else.
Or they can, but then it's high interest, you know, 10-15%.
And the way that Lift Fund has done it traditionally is they need to show proof, you know, sometimes that they were either denied loans from a bigger banking company or they could waive that condition altogether. It would all be contingent on the conditions and requirements set forth in the agreement that the city would put together and present to Lift Fund, the same way we did the MOU the last time. So we could always alter that and cater that to make sure that the biggest impact for our smallest businesses are taken care of.
Arnold, just one observation here. The 83,995, that's for the whole, I guess in this case, you put 4 years. I thought it was 3 years, but it's for the whole term, funding the whole amount from day one.
Correct.
As opposed to per year.
Yes,
right?
that is correct. But the city would need to go in on a year-to-year basis because what is the way that Lift Fund put it here? Let me exit out of here real quick just so I can get you that answer, Mr. Bates.
But you're right, John. We're assuming that the program would be maxed out in one particular year. We just want to create a scenario of what the maximum cost would be to the program if it happened that way. We don't think it will, but we just wanted everyone to be briefed on what could happen.
Yes, and they did mention that the buy down would be paid at closing. That was their explanation that says, you know, for example, a $25,000 loan gets paid down to 0%, that would be paid at the closing at the amount of the 5426.88. The term would not apply to the city.
Now, when you say closing, what do you mean by closing? When you close the
That's a great question. That remains to be seen. We haven't asked that question, but in your experience, if that's two options that we need to look at, then those are two questions that we need to answer and get answers to.
Yeah, because if you pay it up front, no interest has been accrued, so I guess the interest has to be accrued for it to be paid. I don't know if it's going to be paid annually or like you said, at closing. I don't need to look at.
Definitely.
I think there's still a lot of factors that they're going to be developing within the next few weeks. So if the committee would like to move and have the department come back with a more formulated document, that would be great.
Do you want to make that motion, Rafa?
Once again, I don't know if the chair can make a motion or not, but if I can, I'll make the motion.
I'll second the motion, or so moved, as the case may be. Yeah.
For the call, any discussion? All those in favor? Those against? None against, motion carries.
And Mr. Chairman, thank you, committee, for taking that under advisement and for your consideration for this program that we've been working really hard on. Bring back, something with terms, conditions. How far along would you like us to kind of take this to bring it back to you? Because
like a template, and then you'll get some feedback on the size, the amount. I'm assuming everyone's going to have
Would we have likely love to help, myself included.
that's an awesome recommendation. I appreciate it.
D5D, discussion and possible action to reconvene, create a downtown revitalization subcommittee and a small business subcommittee, and any other matters incident thereto. Committee. And then reconvene. The EDAC vision is to create incentives package for prospective businesses and discuss economic development as per the city secretary. And I think that after reviewing our comp plan and two major factors that we can definitely participate in and bring projects consecutively to council for their approval is in downtown revitalization and a small business subcommittee. So I don't really. Aside from two people that I'd like to lead the way, that being Julian Rotnovsky leading our downtown revitalization. Is because they both have the time, they're both single, they're both young and energetic, and definitely can start to make these meetings happen and start to create projects. So if that's fine with our committee, I'd like to create these two subcommittees. And whoever would like to participate is on a volunteer basis, just by a show of hands. And I'll open this up for discussion.
I'm open to leading or organizing the downtown revitalization. If we can talk about that briefly, is there anyone that would like to join me on that?
I'll give a hand. And by the way, I'd like to commend the chair for coming up with this. This is long overdue and so well timed. So thanks for your vision on that. I'm happy to give a hand to Mr. Rotnovsky.
Mr. Villarreal as well. Perfect. We have that subcommittee first. And with Mr. Ray Rocha, go ahead.
Oh, hi. Well, for those of you who don't know me, Ray Rocha, I'm really excited to work with everyone here and Julian. In any way, with the downtown revitalization, I'd be more than happy to give you a lending hand anytime.
And is there any other volunteers that would like to join our small business subcommittee?
I'll join.
Mr. Dominguez? Cool. We have Mayra on the line still? Okay. Well, then I guess on my part, and perfect, Mayra. I guess on my part, on Mayra's and Mr. Garay's, we'll await some projects that you guys bring back to our EDAC committee for reviewing and eventually present them up to council. I definitely would love to see some help for new businesses, start to see some follow-up with grants, Mr. Rocha. Offer to our small businesses. I know that you're a small business owner, so you definitely are in the ropes as well. So I guess that's the motion. Is there a second? For the creation, a second by Julian. All the discussion, all those in favor? Aye, all those against?
Committee on those two subcommittees, I think they'll serve us well. Just want to mention two real quick things. One is the downtown committee, and I think y'all will do this anyway, but just worth saying is work, if you can, work or coordinate or just listen to what you create some synergy with. It's just my suggestion offhand. You don't have to listen to it at all.
A lot of people that are kind of spinning their wheels, but not in unison. But yes, we're the goal, at least as I lead this, is to tie the TERS. The Chamber of Commerce just created a downtown revitalization committee.
Okay.
That I've been participating with. So yes, the goal is going to be to tie all of those things.
With you guys. Yes. To
quick observation, Mr. Chairman, is that you're also young and single, so you should be able to do some work too. I mean, come on.
That's exactly why we're here. Thank you guys so much for the meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Wait. Teclo, did you check anything on the two terms?
Yeah. Committee. Your term.
Oh, understood.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you guys for your time. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I appreciate it.
Discussion. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Hey, George, welcome again.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, look forward to seeing you guys soon.